You see, one of the most misunderstood behaviors in women, especially in relationships, is the act of pushing someone away while simultaneously giving signs of interest. It feels like a contradiction, doesn't it? One moment she's warm, engaging, open. The next, she's distant, emotionally unavailable, and sometimes even cold. Here's where most people go wrong. They assume this behavior is a game, a form of manipulation or indecision. The truth is far more profound and deeply rooted in emotional psychology. The heart of it lies something that affects every human being but manifests uniquely in women: emotional self-protection. When a woman has experienced deep emotional pain, whether from betrayal, abandonment, being unheard, or misunderstood, she doesn't forget it. Women are neurologically wired to feel emotions more intensely, process them more deeply, and remember them longer. It means wounds don't just heal over time. They often get buried beneath layers of self-preservation. So, when she meets someone new, someone who starts to matter, the first thing her subconscious asks is not, "Do I like him?" It's, "Will I be safe with him?" This is where the mixed signals begin. Because deep down, she may want to connect. She may even feel the pull of emotional intimacy. But those feelings trigger an old memory, an old fear, a previous pain, and suddenly protective instincts kick in. She doesn't mean to be hot and cold. It's a form of armor. Her heart remembers what it was like to be open, vulnerable, and devastated. So now she builds walls. She distances herself not because she doesn't feel, but because she feels too much. Think about it. When a woman pushes you away, she might be trying to see if you'll come closer. Not physically, but emotionally. She's watching to see, will you push back? Will you punish her for her fear? Or will you meet her where she is? With patience, calm, and understanding. This doesn't mean you should tolerate disrespect, of course. Emotional boundaries are critical. But we need to understand that in many cases, this pushing away is not rejection, it's protection. It's the psychological equivalent of testing the water before diving in. She wants to feel safe, not just physically safe, but emotionally and psychologically safe. Because a woman's vulnerability is not light. It's sacred. If she's learned that her openness once led to betrayal, then her survival instinct is to never go there again. Let's go even deeper. Philosophically speaking, there's a paradox in every human hearting. We long to be seen and known, yet we fear it at the same time. For women, this paradox is intensified by social narratives. From a young age, many are taught to be emotionally available, nurturing, kind. But when life teaches her that this emotional openness can be punished, exploited, or used against her, she rewrites her internal rulebook. She begins to believe that love requires her to be guarded, that softness invites pain, and that distance equals strength. So when she meets someone who touches something real in her, something unprocessed, something powerful, she panics. Her walls come up, not because she doesn't care, because she's scared of caring and being hurt again. That's why you'll often see this contradictory behavior. She texts you for deep conversations, laughs with you about everything, looks at you like you matter, then disappears. That silence, that retreat. It's not about you. It's about a subconscious drive to not lose herself again. And here's the tricky part: the more she likes you, the more she might pull away. That's what makes it so confusing. You'd think connection would lead to closeness. In many women, especially those who've been emotionally wounded, the connection act triggers alarm bells. It says, this could be dangerous. This could hurt like last time. So she runs. Emotionally, if not physically. That doesn't mean she's broken. It means she's human. And it means her heart is trying to survive in a world that has likely given her more reasons to guard it than to share it. But here's the irony: very thing she's afraid of, deep emotional intimacy, is also the thing she craves most. That's the internal conflict. That's the reason for the mixed signals. She wants to trust, but she's scared of trusting. She wants to open up, but her survival instinct tells her to close off. So the next time you experience this kind of behavior, when she pulls away, when she seems distant after a moment of closeness, don't rush to judgment. Ask yourself, pain is she protecting? What part of her story haven't I earned the right to hear yet? Because sometimes the distance is not rejection. It's an invitation to see her, not just as a partner, but as a person still healing, still learning, still navigating the delicate line between fear and desire. And if you can understand that, truly understand that, then maybe, just maybe, you can be the one who teaches her that safety and love don't have to be opposites. Now let's go even deeper into one of the most overlooked reasons why women send mixed signals. One that has little to do with fear and everything to do with identity. It's the silent tug of war between independence and intimacy, between the desire to be deeply connected with someone and the need to remain entirely oneself. You see, for centuries, women were conditioned to believe that their worth was tied to relationships. How good a wife they could be, how nurturing a mother, how pleasing or accommodating a partner. But as society evolved, so did the role of women. They became more independent, more self-reliant, more career-driven, more ambitious. And while that progress is both beautiful and necessary, it introduced a new kind of psychological conflict. How do I allow myself to love someone deeply without losing myself in the process? That's the heart of it. A woman who has worked hard to cultivate her independence will not give it up easily. She may crave connection, emotional intimacy, even romance. But if she senses that this connection threatens her personal power, her autonomy, or her emotional space, her instincts will trigger a retreat, not because she doesn't value the relationship, but because she values herself. So she sends mixed signals. She leans in, then pulls back. She engages, then withdraws. She shares pieces of herself, but keeps others hidden. And you're left wondering, what's real and what isn't? It's all real. That's what makes it so complex. The woman you're seeing is trying to integrate two forces that feel, to her, fundamentally at odds. She wants the closeness, the emotional safety, the shared laughter, the deep conversations. But she also wants to maintain her independence, her freedom to grow, her space to breathe. And when either side starts to feel threatened, she shifts, sometimes without warning. This isn't immaturity. It's not indecisiveness. It's a very real, very human internal negotiation. And if you don't understand that, you'll misinterpret her behavior. You'll think she's playing games. You'll assume she's not interested, or worse. You'll pressure her to choose between closeness and control, and that will only push her further away. Let me tell you something important. A woman who has learned to stand on her own, financially, emotionally, intellectually, is not afraid to walk away from something that compromises that. And if the relationship begins to demand too much, too soon or too intensely, she won't rebel outwardly. She'll quietly start to disappear. So many men mistake this for a lack of affection. They assume she's emotionally unavailable. But what's really happening is this: she's preserving the identity she spent years building. And she's trying to figure out if you'll respect it, or try to reshape it. This conflict becomes even more intense in modern relationships, where women are expected to be strong but soft, assertive but submissive, independent but emotionally available. These contradictions create pressure. They send a woman into a place where she's constantly evaluating. Am I allowed to want love and still be me? It's what makes the push and pull behavior so hard to decode. Because on the surface it looks like confusion. But underneath it's clarity. She knows who she is. She knows what she's built. And she's not going to let anyone, even someone she loves, erase that. Now, this doesn't mean she doesn't want to let someone in. She does. But she needs to feel that her independence won't be seen as a threat, that her success, her strength, her solitude won't be interpreted as coldness. She needs to feel that loving you won't cost her the relationship she has with herself. And this is where many men miss the mark. They think closeness is about constant communication, about being emotionally fused. But closeness, for a woman like this, is measured by how free she feels in your presence. Can she breathe around you? Can she grow with you? Can she be herself without shrinking for your comfort? When a woman feels emotionally suffocated, even unintentionally, her instincts tell her to retreat. And it's not because she doesn't care. It's because she cares about both, the relationship and herself. And she's still trying to reconcile how to keep them both alive. So what can you do? You hold space. You stop trying to pull her in, and instead you create a safe emotional container where she chooses to come closer. Not out of obligation, but out of trust. You honor her need for independence. You don't rush her process. You understand that the strongest kind of love is not the one that demands closeness, the one that allows room for distance. And when you give her that space, not as a punishment, not as a manipulation, as a gift, you give her the freedom to choose you without losing herself. Because real love isn't about ownership. It's about invitation. And sometimes the most powerful way to love a woman is to give her room to stay. There's another layer to this that many people miss entirely, and it might be the most psychologically complex of them all. Sometimes When a woman seems to be pushing you away, when she appears inconsistent or emotionally unavailable, it's not confusion and it's not rejection. It's a test, not in the manipulative sense, but in the deeply human, psychological sense. She is testing for emotional safety. Because here's the truth: for a woman to fully let you in, into her thoughts, her body, her past, her dreams, she has to believe, deep in her core, that you are safe, just in the physical sense, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. She wants to know, can I trust you with the most fragile parts of me? Will you stay when I'm not easy to love? Will you still see me when I'm not performing my best self? And the only way to get that answer is to test it. Not because she wants to play with your mind, but because she's been trained by life not to assume anyone is safe just because they say they are. She's likely been through moments where she showed her real self, her fears, her insecurities, her complexity, and was met with judgment, criticism, or silence. Pain stays with her. So now when you come close, when you trigger feelings of intimacy, those same survival instincts are activated, not to manipulate, but to measure. So she might pull back. She might go quiet after a vulnerable conversation. She might act like she doesn't care, just to see if you'll still care. She might become defensive when you try to get too close. And if you're not grounded, if you don't understand the emotional landscape she's navigating, it's easy to assume she's being difficult. What she's really doing is watching how you respond to her complexity. Because if you can't handle her when she's uncertain, she knows you won't deserve her when she's all in. Think about this from a psychological point of view in attachment theory. People with anxious or avoidant patterns often develop behaviors that look irrational from the outside, but make perfect sense internally. A woman who pushes you away may actually be the one who's most afraid of losing you. Her fear doesn't express itself in the language of love. It expresses itself in distance. But that distance is strategic. It's asking, will you chase me for the right reasons? Will you get angry and walk away? Or will you stay grounded and let me come back on my own terms? These moments of emotional testing aren't always conscious. She's not sitting there plotting, but her subconscious mind is absolutely assessing everything. The tone in your voice when she expresses doubt, the way you react when she needs space, whether you make her feel smaller when she's unsure or bigger when she's scared. She's asking, not with her words, but with her actions. Are you capable of loving me at my rawest or only when I'm easy? That's where many relationships fall apart. Because a man might feel frustrated. He's doing everything right. Calling, showing up, being consistent. And yet, she still withdraws. And so he either takes it personally or he walks away. The rare ones, the ones who truly understand emotional intelligence, they pause. They see the distance for what it is, a mirror of her past wounds. Not a reflection of her feelings for you, but a reflection of how scared she is to lose herself again in someone else's hands. If you want to build something real with a woman who's emotionally intelligent, but emotionally guarded, you have to pass the tests you don't even know are happening. You have to respond with patience when she gives you coldness. You have to meet her silence with calm presence, not pressure. You have to be strong enough not to take her retreat as a personal attack, but as a sign that she's reaching for trust, slowly, carefully. There's also a philosophical beauty in this dynamic. Love at its core is not about ease. It's not just about chemistry and connection. It's about safety. It's about being able to show up fully and not be punished for your wounds. For women, especially those who've learned that emotional honesty can be dangerous, safety becomes the most seductive thing in the world. So if she's testing you, it's not to play games. It's because she wants to stop playing games altogether. She wants to drop the act. She wants to be loved without needing to edit herself. And she wants to know, will you make me regret trusting you? Or will you finally prove that I don't have to run anymore? This is why many women push away just when things seem to be getting good. Because in that moment, the stakes are suddenly real. And real love, as beautiful as it is also terrifying. It demands a level of vulnerability that feels like standing naked in a storm. She's asking you to stand there with her, not to fix her, not to rescue her, but to hold space while she reveals the pieces she's never shown anyone before. And if you can do that, if you can meet her emotional tests with grace, steadiness, and depth, you won't just gain her affection. You'll earn something far more valuable, her trust. Because when a woman tests your soul, she's not trying to break you. She's trying to find out if you're strong enough to hold her heart. Sometimes the greatest confusion in relationships, especially with women who send mixed signals, stems not from manipulation, not from games, and not even from fear, but from conflict, inner conflict, a quiet war between what her mind tells her and what her heart deeply feels. And until that battle finds resolution, her behavior will often appear inconsistent, unpredictable, or emotionally disorienting to the person on the receiving end. This is something we rarely talk about. We're often told to follow your heart or trust your gut, but no one tells you what to do when your heart and mind are at odds, when your emotional truth clashes with your logical reasoning. And for many women, especially emotionally intelligent women who've experienced emotional trauma, societal pressure, or disappointing relationships, this clash is more than occasional, it's constant. She may meet someone who feels right on every level, someone who sparks her curiosity, makes her laugh, touches her soul. Her heart responds instinctively, pulling her closer. But then her mind begins to whisper, is this too fast? What if he leaves like the others? What if I'm not enough? Is this real, or is it just another illusion? And suddenly, her warmth cools. Her availability disappears. Her affection seems to shrink overnight. From the outside, this looks like confusion or even emotional immaturity. From the inside, it's a woman trying to reconcile two competing realities. Her emotions say yes, but her logic says not yet. Her soul says go, her history says stop. So what does she do? She stalls. She distances herself. She sends mixed signals. And this isn't because she doesn't know what she wants. It's because what she wants feels unsafe in light of what she's learned. This inner contradiction is intensified by the narratives women are taught. She's told to trust her instincts, but also to be cautious. She's told to be open-hearted, warned not to be naive. She's told to follow love, but never at the expense of self-respect. And she's constantly walking that razor's edge, trying to figure out how to be wise without becoming closed off, how to be open without becoming vulnerable to destruction. So when you experience her pulling away just when things are going well, understand. It may not be because she's unsure about you, because she's unsure about what to do with the feelings you're awakening in her. It's not that the connection isn't real. It's that the connection is too real, and her mind hasn't caught up with her heart yet. In psychology, this phenomenon can be viewed through the lens of cognitive dissonance, the discomfort we feel when we hold two opposing beliefs or desires at the same time. She wants to trust, but she doesn't trust easily. She wants love, but she's afraid of what love has cost her in the past. So instead of moving forward, she wavers. She hesitates. She gives you a glimpse, then retreats behind the curtain. And the deeper this inner conflict runs, the more emotionally charged her decisions become. She may even sabotage the connection before it gets serious. Not because she doesn't care, but because she cares so deeply that she doesn't know how to manage it. This is emotional paralysis masked as disinterest. This is self-protection disguised as detachment. Here's what separates a woman who's emotionally immature from one who's emotionally layered. The latter knows she's conflicted. She's aware of the tension between her logic and her longing. And the pushing away isn't an act of avoidance. It's a cry for patience, for time, for emotional clarity. She's not saying no. She's saying, let me figure out how to stop fighting myself. And this is where most people give up. They see the hesitation and walk away. They interpret the distance as rejection and shut down. But what they don't realize is that sometimes the most emotionally intelligent thing you can do is wait. Not passively, but consciously. Stay steady, not needy. Stay grounded, not reactive. You don't fix her. You don't pressure her. You let her resolve the conflict inside her without making it about your ego. Because when a woman finally aligns her mind and heart, when she finds peace between her logic and her emotion, she loves with a kind of depth that's unshakable. She doesn't just give you access to her heart. She gives you access to the journey that led her there. And there's nothing more powerful than being chosen by someone who had to battle herself to choose you. So when you see her retreat after a moment of closeness, don't assume she's walking away from you. She may simply be walking through herself. Because a woman isn't a puzzle to be solved. She's a story unfolding. And sometimes the mixed signals aren't mixed at all. They're just different chapters of a heart learning how to speak in one voice.